Hi everybody. So what we're going to do today is just recap over what we've done in probability so far before Christmas. The first thing we're going to do is go through a number of keywords that we covered as part of the course. So this is our list of keywords here. A trial is the act of doing an experiment in probability. So an example of that is rolling a dice. Another example of a trial could be picking a card from a deck at random, or drawing a bag, or picking a marble out of a bag of marbles, again at random. An outcome is one of the possible results of a trial. So if you're rolling a six-sided dice, the possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. An event is the occurrence of one or more specific outcomes. So an example of an event might be rolling a 1 or 2 when you roll the dice. So it's specifically what we're looking for. Say, for example, if we wanted to find the probability of rolling a 1 or 2, then rolling a 1 or 2 would be what we'd call the event that we're looking for. And then the final keyword is sample space. So the sample space is a list of all the possible outcomes in a trial. So we've looked at this in more detail before. We did counting, and we would list the sample space using the listing method, a two-way table, or a tree diagram. It's also really important that we're familiar with the probability scale, which is a scale that goes from 0 to 1. So 0 is when something is impossible, and 1 is when something is certain. If something is roughly 50-50 or equally likely to happen or not happen, we say it's around 0.5. Then if something is unlikely, it's going to be somewhere between 0 and 0.5. Or if something is likely to happen, it's going to be between 0.5 and 1. The closer it is to 1, the more likely it is, and the closer it is to 0, the less likely it is. Another topic we covered is relative frequency. So this is a way of estimating probability. What we do is we look at how often something has happened out of the total number of trials. So for example, if we want to find out what the relative frequency is of rolling a 3 on a dice, and we roll the dice 100 times. Let's say that 30 of those rolls were a 3. Well, then to get the relative frequency, what we're going to do is get the number of times the event happened, which is rolling a 3, and divide it by the total number of trials. In this case, that's the total number of times we rolled the dice. So that's going to give us 30 times that we got a 3 divided by 100 dice rolls. Now if you put that into your calculator, it'll give it to you as a decimal, which is what we generally prefer unless they ask for something else. So that would be 0.3. 0.3, like we mentioned before, is closer to the 0 end of the probability scale, so we'd say it's not that likely. So the final thing we'll look at here is the theoretical probability. So this is different from relative frequency. Relative frequency, we're doing it through experiment. In theoretical probability, we're just thinking about how likely something is before we carry out a trial. So for theoretical probability, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the number of outcomes that we're interested in an experiment divided by the total number of all possible outcomes. So an example of this will be in a deck of cards. What's the probability of drawing an ace out of a deck of cards? Well, we know that there's 4 aces in a deck of cards. We know there's 52 cards in total in a deck of cards. So to find the probability, what we will do is divide the number of outcomes we're interested in, which is the 4 aces, divided by the total number of outcomes, which is 52. Again, we put this into our calculator and we get a decimal unless we're told to get it in a different form. When we put this into our calculator, we get 0.0769, which you can just write into 0.077. Alright, so now you can pause the video and have a go at these 4 questions. Do your best to get the answers out. Try and give each answer as a decimal, and then when you're ready, press play again, and I'll go through the answers with you. So for the first question here, a coin is flipped 80 times, and 8 of those are heads. So the outcomes we're interested in is 8 divided by the total number of outcomes, which was 80. So 8 divided by 80, if we get that as a decimal, is 0.1. The next question says that 15 contestants spin the Wheel of Fortune and only 3 win a prize. What is the relative frequency of winning a prize? So again, the outcomes we're interested in is how many people won a prize. So that was 3 people. The total number of outcomes was 15, because 15 people either win or didn't win. So when we put this into our calculator, we get 0.2. Number 3 is based around a deck of cards again. So you're picking a card at random from the deck, and they want to know what the probability is that the card is a spade. So each suit of cards has 13 cards in it, and there's 52 cards in total in the deck. So we've got 13 cards that are spades out of 52 total cards. Put that into your calculator and you get 0.25 as a decimal. The final question is based around theoretical probability as well. We've got a bag that contains 4 blue marbles, 3 red marbles, and 2 white marbles. If you pick one at random, what's the probability that it will be red? So we're going to get the total number of red marbles divided by the total number of marbles altogether. So there are 3 red marbles, and then to get the total number of marbles, it's going to be the 4 blue marbles plus 3 red plus 2 white marbles. If we simplify this bottom, it gives us 3 over 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 2 is 9. Put that into your calculator and you get 0.333. So we'll just give it to 2 decimal places, 0.33.